So, at the time I was a 16-year-old female working at McDonald's. Now, at the McDonald's I worked at, when you're on your headset where you answer people through the drive-thru, you are normally required to be at the first window to take payment. My job position was customer care management at the time, so my job meant to be on the front desk, but 99% of the time, that required me to be behind the tills. So I was having a normal day, working a long shift, but having a normal working day. I happened to be on headset and first window that day. Anyway, my headset buzzes, letting me know there's someone at the drive-thru lane. I go through the first window to answer the customer, and this is how the conversation ensued. Me: hello, welcome to McDonald's, what can I get you? Him: oh wow, you've got a beautiful voice. His voice was very grunty and husky sounding, not off-putting. We have all sorts of customers come through McDonald's every day, so nothing gave me the creeps at this point, but his voice was very recognizable. Me: thank you sir, how very flattering, what can I get you? Him: I haven't decided yet. Long pause. Him: can I come around to the first window and decide? I want to see who I'm talking to. Now, we weren't very busy at this point. Creeper hadn't actually creeped me out yet. I mean, all he wanted to do was pay me a compliment, and we quite often had people complain that they liked the face-to-face contact, so it was definitely not unusual to get a request like this. Me: sure, that's fine. Him: wow, you are just as beautiful as you sound. Me: thank you sir, have you decided what you're having? Him: are you an option? I laughed this off. It was my first job, and I wasn't a rude kind of person when someone was paying me a compliment. I must also point out that this man must have been in his 60s. I remember he had one lazy eye that looked to the left, along with painfully awful teeth and patchy dark brown hair. At this point, I was a little bit uncomfortable, but I was still more than willing to take his order. Him: I'll have a cheeseburger. Me: okay, that's 99 cents. Are you paying cash or card? Without answering my question, he started asking where I'm from and how old I was, and stuff along that matter. But it wasn't until his last few questions I got super weirded out. Him: when do you finish work? Me: 7:30. Why? Keep in mind, I don't finish at 7:30, but 7:30 was the first number to come into my head when I blurted it out. I finished at 8, but would probably do some overtime too, but I wasn't about to let him know that. Him: I can meet you if you want. I can pick you up outside and we can go somewhere. All the while he's saying this weird shit, a horrendous grin is growing on his face. Me: I'm really sorry sir, but I'm not allowed to meet customers outside of work as it's against our employee policy. This is utter bullshit, I just needed him to leave me alone. He carries on being insistent, but not getting the picture. I cut the conversation short. Me: anyway sir, sorry to be rude, but can I have the 99 cent for your cheeseburger? Him: ah, yes, sorry. See you at 7:30. Off he drove to the next window. I was gobsmacked. I'd already said I wasn't going to see him. I was a little bit shocked, but I was not going over there and giving him the satisfaction of talking to me again. My coworker came to visit and said, ew, that guy has a major crush on you and wanted your number, but I didn't give it to him. He's old enough to be your dad. Anyway, I explained exactly what happened and how uncomfortable he made me. 7:30 came and my coworker was spooked. Creeper's waiting in the car park for me, just like he said he would. He sat halfway down at the car park and you can see him just staring in. Our car park isn't very big and only has 4 rows of parking spaces, so he wasn't that far and would have clocked me the minute I came out the door. At this point, I'm freaking out and head to the back of the store where hopefully he can't see me. I had to stay in the back of the store for 40 minutes before we knew it was safe to come out. Fast forward to a week and the creeper's back on drive-thru, and guess who's back on the headset at the window? Me. I heard his voice and recognized it straight away. Him: I was hoping I'd hear your voice again. Why didn't you meet me the other day? Me: 1 second sir, I'll be with you in a second. I immediately handed my headset to my manager and gave him a quick briefing of the situation. He gladly took the headset and dealt with the customer from start to finish. When my manager came back to let me know what he had done, he said the creeper had been asking for my name, my address, and my surname. My manager said he was the most creepiest guy he had ever met, and I was never going to have to deal with him again. If he came to work while I was there, afterwards my manager would have me head out the back room while he dealt with a creep. He always asked about me, every time. So creeper, at McDonald's, let's not meet again. My freshman year was a wild time. By wild time, I mean, it was the one year that I wasn't stressed to all hell, but that's a story for another time. It was a Thursday night, no parties going on, and though my friend Connie had a fake ID, me and my friend Anna didn't, so we opted for drinking in the dorms. Freshman me had an incredible tolerance compared to me now, 4 years later, so Anna and I gave Connie money and she went and bought us each a bottle of wine, and on top of that some shots. Needless to say, an hour later, we needed some food. Trying to keep this short, but this is the context. At the edge, literally on the street corner of our campus, is a Taco Bell. An easy 10-minute walk from the dorm, right to the Taco Bell counter. A walk we've made countless times. No matter how much I drank, I was always made sure to be aware of my surroundings. Mostly because I grew up with 2 older brothers and a military dad who drilled that into me. Also because my friends were pretty reckless when they got drunk. Not to mention, they're kinda naive, and they've been sheltered for most of their lives. Like if shit went down, I was the one to fix it or protect us. So I was buzzed and having fun, being a shit show with my friends, until we get to Taco Bell. Connie and I go to the bathroom after we order. We send Anna to grab a table, even though we hardly see any people there. We come back out and we see Anna got an obnoxiously large table that could have seated 7, but there was someone else there. I've always referred to this man as wife beater dude, and when I saw him, his appearance alone sobered me up real quick. I could tell he was sitting down, but more lean than muscle. He had a gray beanie on and a white wife beater and black sweatpants, even though it was almost winter. It made it easier to see the tattoos on his arm, throat, and face, but specifically, I focused on 7 or 8 teardrop tattoos. He wasn't a bad-looking guy, but his eyes were hollow and jumpy as he smiled at us, welcoming us to our table. Hey ladies, I hope you think it's cool if I join you for a minute. You see, I'm just waiting for my ride. I just got out of the pen and just wanted to blend in, you get me? So is it cool if I just chill with you lovely ladies for a sec? As he was talking, he would keep glancing anxiously out the windows overlooking the street, rubbing his arms and bouncing his leg. I kept it as passive as possible, smiling despite the twist in my stomach, and I kept it real quiet, focusing on my tacos. Anna is more shy to begin with, but she did the same thing, smiling sheepishly at wife beater dude as he begins to just talk. He would brag about his street credit and how he's a serial killer and hitman. He would keep telling us to look him up, that he's famous, and we should look him up. This was all fine and dandy until he began talking about religion and beliefs. My friends are religious, but I'm not, and though I wholeheartedly disagree, I won't engage. Wife beater dude essentially kept saying that he was a man of God, and that he thinks that all the gays should go to hell. My friend Connie is blindingly stubborn and argumentative as a person, and the only one out of us 3 that really had been engaging with him. This is when they start to get in a debate over morals and God. He claims that gays should go to hell because it's against the Bible, and in return, Connie makes the fair point that murder is also against the Bible as well. At this point, I finally catch her eye and say quietly through my teeth, "Hey Connie, why don't you shut the fuck up?" But wife beater dude actually starts to flirt hardcore with Connie, which I start to interrupt by asking her to grab me some sauce or napkins. Luckily, this only lasts for a minute before wife beater number 2 shows up, an almost comically identical version of number 1, except he is shorter and wearing a black wife beater. He comes in out of breath. "Hey man, I got the car running, let's ride now man." One looks at us and politely extends an invite to come to their crib, smoke, and chill, the last part finishing with a thrusting motion. I decline before anyone else could say anything, and they disappear. Not even 2 minutes later, 3 cop cars go roaring down the street in the same direction they went. Was he really a serial killer, or just a moron? Was he really on the run from the cops? What was his name? Even though he kept telling us to look him up, ironically, he never told us what his name was. So anyways, Wife Beater 1 and 2. Let's not meet again. So I live in a relatively small town. Not everyone knows each other, but we are closely knit, so it's easier for knowledge to spread. Now, after we had dropped my grandma off for her brain surgery, we stopped at Wendy's. Now, I don't know why my uncle thought it was okay to do this, but he thought that him staying in the car for 20 minutes while I stay inside the Wendy's was a good idea. While he was gone, I was on my phone, and there were a few people there, so it was just kinda empty. Then I get this chill down my spine. I look up from my phone when I see this creepy guy staring at me. My parents, being sensible people, raised me not to talk to strangers. I, being the smart 10-year-old I was, decided to text my friend that there was some guy watching me. She told me to keep texting her in case anything happened. I kept sneaking glances from my phone, but the guy was still staring at me. I decided to go to the woman's restroom and stay in there for a few minutes, in hopes my food will be ready by the time I got out. After a few minutes, I go outside my stall to wash my hands, and I see the guy in the restroom, just standing there. Me. Hi? Creep. How old are you? Me. I'm sorry, but I can't tell you that. Creep. What's your age? Me. I'm sorry, but can you please stop? Creep. Tell me your age. Tell me. Me. Get the fuck away from me. I try to bolt to the door, but the dude blocks me. So the only sensible thing I could do was just to kick him right in his balls, just like my dad taught me to. He went down pretty fast, and for good measure, as I ran to the open door, I pushed his head hard. I bolted out of there, and I found my bag on my table. I ran out of there into my uncle's car, to which he seemed annoyed at. I told him everything, but he seemed to think I was lying. What a jerk. He drove home, and he told me not to tell my dad. But of course, I told my dad. My uncle was mad at me, but I was mad at him. That's when I learned that the creepy man was actually a friend of my uncle's. And although he was a convicted drug addict, my uncle seemed to think this was fine. I never forgave my uncle. Of course, when my dad told his friends, it spread it all over town. My uncle is now disliked by a lot of people. So hey, creepy drug addict, let's never meet again. Please, I don't know what you wanted from me in that bathroom. So, this happened yesterday, but I'm pretty sure it's the creepiest encounter with a stranger I've ever had in my whole life. I've never really written about a personal experience like this, and I don't know if you guys will find it weird as I did, or if I'm overreacting, but I thought this would be a place to share it. Yesterday, my friend and I were at my house, and found ourselves craving some gross fast food. I live about half a mile from a Burger King, which my friends and I had walked to before. It was quickly approaching dusk, but my neighborhood is relatively nice, and I never felt uncomfortable or unsafe walking anywhere nearby before. The weather had been mild around here for December, and we decided to walk instead of drive the short distance to the Burger King. For some background information, my friend and I were both 16-year-old girls. We have both had encounters with creepers in the past, but my resting bitch face had helped me avoid a lot of unwanted advances. My friend had a pepper spray canister in her purse, but we left it at home, I guess because we were so comfortable in my neighborhood that we didn't think anything odd would happen. When we reached the Burger King, it was oddly empty for dinner time. The only people in the restaurant were the workers. An old Italian man that seemed to be the franchise owner, and a middle-aged African-American man sitting on the corner, facing the window. The way the building is set up, you order your food around the corner, from the seating area, and those at the cash register cannot easily see those seated in the restaurant. There's a side door that opens directly into the dining area, and you can enter and leave without whoever is working the cash register seeing you. As we are ordering our milkshakes and fries, the owner is screaming at the young employees, which made my friend and I pretty uncomfortable. When our food was ready, he brought it to the counter and leered at us, asking if we had just been to the beach. Neither of us was really showing any skin or anything, and I just gave him a dirty look and sat down to eat my food, thinking that he was probably the creepiest person I was going to meet that day. When my friend and I sat down to eat, the man who was seated in the corner got up to leave. We barely looked at him, but when he was passing our table, my friend and I noticed an odd detail. Though he was middle-aged and wearing what looked to be a work uniform, he had bright neon green contact lenses in his eyes, like the kind of people that wear Halloween costumes. I giggled to my friend that he must really like Hopskin, the rapper whose personality includes wearing white contact lenses, but we didn't find it too strange until he came back to the side door 3 minutes later. When he came in, he was carrying a misshapen large bag. He was previously seated very far from us, but when he came back, he took a seat closer to us, 2 or 3 feet away. The tables were angled differently, so his back was facing us. We thought this was weird, but we continued eating while he pulled out an ancient laptop from his bag and started it up. A few moments later, my friend grabbed my leg and made a motion for me to look next to me. There, the man had very clearly angled his laptop screen so it was in the view of my friend and I. I heard heavy breathing before I fully grasped what was happening. There, on this weirdo's screen, was 2 naked women in what seemed to be a dungeon, strapped down and being whipped. Now, I've grown up around computers and am friends with a lot of dirty teenage boys, so I have sadly seen pornography before, but this didn't seem like normal bondage stuff at all. It seemed less staged and less professional, and the fact that the man had it on a disc instead of the internet made it really more creepy. What made it even creepier was that he was steadily increasing the volume on his laptop. By the time my friend and I fully grasped what was happening, we got up to leave. It was on full volume, and he angled towards us, while the woman's scream of pain echoed through the dingy restaurant. Of course, while this was happening, the manager was still yelling at his employees, and they were definitely unaware of what was going on. My friend and I didn't stop to tell them what was happening. We just booked it out of there, running across a busy intersection. I looked back to see the man getting up and walked out of Burger King, into what can only be described as a stereotypical black creeper van. I told my friend this, and we began to panic, and ran to a nearby gas station. The van drove into the parking lot and sat there. We hid inside for almost half an hour, and the police probably thought we were shoplifting, but we were too scared to make the walk home with this weirdo on the loose. Eventually, the van drove off, and we peeked outside to make sure the coast was clear. By this time, it was completely dark out. I called my guy best friend, and I asked him to come pick us up, but he was across town. My friend and I just stayed on the phone with him as we began the trek back to my house, which, though short, when paranoid, seems endless. When we got home, we speculated the man's intentions, and thanked our lucky stars that he didn't grab any of us on our walk back. I wasn't able to sleep well last night. I just saw his blank eyes and his creepy black van in my dreams. It really sucks not feeling safe in your own neighborhood. I think it was probably exciting for him to scare young girls, and maybe that was his form of entertainment. If anything like this ever happened to any of you, I'd like to hear about it. Or if you know it's a thing in the creeper community to force people to watch your weird porn in public. I'm just really confused by this whole experience. My friend's dad called the non-emergency police line today about this, and if anyone is interested, I can let you know what they said when I find out.